Before we dive into this video, there's something that I want to tell you up front, and that's that there's two types of icons, or two ways that we can use icons in Quasar. The first one is web fonts, and this is the way that we get to use icons by default. Basically, web fonts is going to pull in all icons available, all icons within that web font library. And that means that we're going to end up with a bigger file size, but it also means that it's a little bit easier to use icons because you don't have to import them individually. And then the other way is using SVG icons. Now, SVG icons are more performant. You're going to end up with a smaller file size. And in general, they're probably a better choice for larger applications and applications that you want to perform faster because they don't have to pull in all of your icons. And icon libraries can end up being over 500 kilobytes in size, which is it can be significant. So for in-house applications, when you've got like 1 to 100 people maybe that are using the same app every single day, web fonts might not be such a bad choice. However, when you start getting a larger number of users, it's probably definitely worth using SVG icons, especially for things like landing pages where you want to make sure that first paint of your application is fast. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started with Quasar's icon component. First of all, we'll say Q-icon in order to use an icon, and then we can give it a name, and we'll say book. Now, behind the scenes, Quasar by default uses Google's Material Icons library, and book is one of the icons available in that library. So when I save that, we can see we get this book icon. It's a bit small, so let's go ahead and change the size equal to, how about extra large? And there we go. We've got everything from extra small all the way through to extra large, but then we can also use units like 1.5 EM, or you can use pixels if you like, something like 28 pixels. That is all going to work. Of course, we can change the color as well. So let's set that equal to green. And there we go. So that's pretty much the main way that you're going to be using icons. It's not much more complicated than that, but we're going to dig a lot deeper. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, we're going to look at SVG icons as well and learn how to use the different icon sets available to us. Now, another thing worth noting is you can actually use this default slot here. So for example, if you wanted a tooltip, you could say Q-tooltip and then say find out more. And that just means when we hover this, we're going to get that find out more tooltip showing up. And it's also worth noting that you might want to add a class here for some of your icons that are clickable that says cursor-pointer. I just wanted to point that out because it's a very common pattern where you want to have that sort of pointer icon on your mouse whenever you hover over your icon. All right, what else? We can also change the tag. So let's set the tag equal to something like a div. And actually, before we do that, I just want to show you that by default, we get this I tag. All right, so there we go. The tag is an I tag by default, which is usually what you're going to get with icons. And then we can set the tag to something like a div, or probably a more common scenario would be an A tag, for example, if you want this icon to be a link. All right, what else can we do? We can also say whether it's on the left or the right of something, which just adds a little bit of extra margining. I'll show you what I mean. We'll go back to a simpler example, and we'll say some text here. There we go. And now what we can do is say, hey, this icon is on the right of some text, and that just adds a little bit of margining to separate it from that text. And then if this text was underneath the icon, you could then say left here, and that adds a little bit of margining to the other side of the icon. That can be a little bit confusing. When you say left, you're basically saying the icon is on the left, and therefore you get margining on the right of the icon. So that's something to keep in mind. That's about it for the icon API. Let's take a look at how we can actually change our icon library. So I'll go Control P and look for our quasar.conf file, quasar.config.js. There it is there. And notice that we've got a few icon libraries available to us. Now, when we bring in an icon library through extras, we're using web fonts. Okay, so basically whenever we uncomment out one of these libraries, and we can uncomment as many as we want here, it's going to pull in that entire icon library. So this will mean that you end up with a larger file size. So we're going to use MDI version 6 in this video, and I'm going to comment out material icons. Okay, notice that we've also got our fonts in here as well. So when we say extras, we're saying, hey, these are extra libraries that we're pulling into Quasar, that Quasar allows us to pull in really easily by default. All right, so now that we've got MDI version 6, notice that our icons no longer work. That's because MDI version 6 uses a different prefix for its icons. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's go back to index page, and now we can say MDI dash, and then the icon. So now we're using the MDI library, and we're using the book icon. And you'll notice that I've got a plugin here that that actually shows me the icon, which is why it's showing up there with a little with that little image, which is kind of cool. And it's worth noting that all of the icon libraries that you have available to you have different naming conventions. So MDI has this MDI dash at the start, and the Quasar docs will tell you about all those different naming conventions if you're using web font icons. Now, another thing worth noting is that if I come in here and use a Quasar component like the Q-editor component, notice that all of its icons are messed up. Because by default, Quasar's QEditor component is using icons behind the scenes. That's why these icons show up. But it doesn't actually know how to map those icons using the MDI icon library. So if we go back into quasar.conf, and I might just split the screen here, jump into our Quasar config file, and then I'll come down. Yeah, so it knows how to use the material icons library. So if I bring that back in, oh, and I need to make sure that's a comma. Yeah, notice that it's going to work because it knows how to map the material icons onto the icons that this component uses. So if we want to use a different library like MDI version 6, we need to scroll down here. Oh, I might have already gone past it. Yeah, all right. Here we go. It's under framework. Notice that we've got an icon set here. By default, that's going to be set to material icons. But what I can do is comment that out and now make it MDI-version 6. So now we're saying, hey, Quasar, for all of your components, I want you to use the MDI version 6 library to find the icons for those components. So let's save that, scroll back up again, and there we go. Notice we're using MDI version 6 in our extras as well, and it all still works. All right, so I'm hoping that makes sense. Basically, you want the icon library in your extras to line up with the icon set that you have selected so that Quasar's components knows how to find the correct icons to display. All right, so that's it for web font-based icons. Now let's have a look at SVG icons, which requires a little bit more work, but it's got some awesome advantages, like only the used icons are in the final build. And also we end up with a better quality icon. And the reason that we end up with only used icons in the build is because we actually cherry pick the icons that we want to use. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to comment out, or we'll leave the icon set there for now, but I'll comment out MDI version 6 from extras. So now we are using no icon libraries. We're not bringing in any libraries. Therefore, there are no icons included in our bundle by default. Now I can actually come down here to our script section, and let me just get rid of the QEditor, and we can pull in individual icons like this. Import, and I'm going to take this out of @Quasar extras / material icons. So we'll jump into the material icons library and pull out matte menu. And by the way, notice that we get this list of available icons now. So one of the cool things about using icons in this way is it can be easy to search for icons since they're being imported. So now if I'm looking for something like a menu, I could say MEN, and I can see here that I've got menu book, menu open, and I can just kind of like have a look through what's available to me. So that's kind of a cool added benefit to importing icons. So let's select map menu. And then what we do is we add a colon here at the start of name, and then we just paste that directly in there. Save it, and there we go. The icon is now showing up and working. Furthermore, only this icon is going to be included in our bundle size. So our bundle size will be way, way smaller than when we use web font icons. Now, here's another added benefit to SVG icons. You can mix and match different icon sets. So if I copy paste that down, we can pull one icon out of material icons and then another one out of MDI-version 6. So let's pull out of there, MDI, let's have a look at the A/B testing icon. There we go. And what I might do is remove a bit of the fluff around here just to bring us back to a simpler example. And we'll say size is equal to extra large, and then I'm going to copy paste that down. And this time I'll copy paste the MDI A/B testing icon in there. And there we go. This first icon here is being pulled out of the material icons library. And then this second icon is being pulled out of the MDI version 6 library. And don't worry about that squiggly line. That's just because of an extension that I'm using. It's complaining about something for no reason. Just to drill this home, let's add another one. We can also pull out of the Font Awesome library. So we can say Font Awesome-version 5. And I can pull out of there FAS font. And then let's just copy paste this down. Copy, paste, copy that, paste it in there. And there we go. Now we've got a Font Awesome icon as well. So it's really easy to just pull in only the icons that you desire. And this is probably a good opportunity to show you a little trick I like about using icons on different platforms. So for example, you might say, and I'll just comment out this bottom line here. You might want to say, for iPhones or for iOS devices, I want to use one type of icon, but for Android or for any other device, I want you to use a different kind of icon. And we can do that quite easily by saying $Q, which I like to think of when I do this as saying, hey Quasar. So $Q, hey Quasar, if the platform is equal, so is iOS, so Quasar, if the platform I'm on is iOS, then I want you to show me the matte icon. Otherwise, I want you to show me the A/B testing icon. So this is kind of a silly example, but you can imagine you might have the same icon, but it would fit the style of iOS versus the style of Android, for example. So now we're getting this A/B testing icon because I am not on an iOS device. However, if I bring up my console here, click on the device option, select iPhone, which is already selected, refresh the page, now we get a different icon. So you can pick and choose icons depending on the device that you're on. So that's really cool. All right, so that's pretty much all you need to know about icons, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper just to make this video more complete. But honestly, you could probably leave this video right now and you'd never actually need the rest of the information I'm about to tell you. So this is just mostly for people that are interested or for people that want to do some more advanced stuff with icons. All right, so first of all, Inline SVG Icons. What we can do is remove the name of the icon here, and we'll keep the size in there. And I'm going to actually paste an SVG icon directly inside of here. So let's get rid of all of this as well. Bring us back to a simpler example. And I'm going to go down to my bottom screen here. I've actually got an SVG that I found on the internet. I think it might have actually come from the Quasar docs. And there we go. I can just paste it directly in there. And the cool thing about this is that the QIcon component is still able to be used in this example. So we can set the size, we can set the color equal to something like accent. That's still going to work. And then any other options that we want to add, we can just add them in here to the QIcon component. And then in this example, you might, for example, create a new component. So let's say source, create a new file in components, and we'll call this user tag icon, maybe something like that, .view. And then I'll add in a template here. We won't actually need the script tag. I'll save that, and then I'll come back here, grab the SVG, cut it, and then I'll paste it directly in here. And now, whenever I want to use this icon, I can just paste user tag icon in there directly. So let's come back to index page, and now I can just say here, user tag icon. Let's try changing this to capitals. User tag icon. Oh, and it looks like my IDE has done something kind of funky here. Yeah, it looks like it tried to import it and did something funky. So let's get rid of that and save it. And I think that might fix the problem. There we go. So you get the idea. Basically, now we can easily just paste that icon in directly. So this is particularly handy if you have icons that are very specific to your business, so they don't exist in any of the icon libraries. You might want to go ahead and make your own. Or maybe the company that you work for has their own set of icons. This can be a really nice way to easily add them in. And in fact, we could go further with this. We could control click this user tag icon. And I'm going to wrap this inside of a Q-icon component. I'll cut that and paste that down there. And now if we come back here, we can remove this icon section here, save it, it still works. However, since it's wrapped in an icon component, we can still do things like size is equal to extra large. That still works. Color is equal to purple. And there we go. So this can be a really nice way to basically just drop in icons that are SVGs that you have that are very custom to your business. A couple of things to note here is that in your SVGs themselves, you don't want to be setting a height or a width. Otherwise, that's going to break the way QIcon can basically tap into the icon and change the setting itself. All right, so you're going to lose the sizing functionality if you add a height and a width on your icons. And I also wanted to point out, Quasar Docs gives some pretty deep insight into SVG icons and digs a little bit deeper into different ways they can be added to your app. I'm not going to go that deep in this video because if you need that level of customization, you probably know what you're doing by that point and can find the information you need yourself. Now, one more thing worth pointing out is if we come back here to our index page and then we try and add in the Q-editor component, and I'll comment this out, notice that we still have that problem. Now, it turns out we can actually use SVG icons and still get our Quasar components to work. And the way we can do that is by coming down here to our icon set and adding to the start SVG dash. So we're saying, hey, Quasar, I want you to use SVG icons for the icon set using the MDI version 6 library. So let's go ahead and save that. And now we get the small bundle size of SVG icons, and we still get to map those icons using Quasar's components. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, let's dig into some more fancy stuff that we can do with icons. I might close this out now. We can get rid of this Q editor and bring back in our Q-icon example. What we can do is set the name equal to an image. So if I say IMG at the start here, I can now actually pull an image from the web and use that as an icon. So https:// and then I'll say pixum.photos and we'll get a 100 by 100 photo. And there we go. It's using that photo using Quasar's icon component. So let's set that size equal to extra large so it's a little bit easier to see. So if you happen to be using icons that are photos, which I don't recommend, but if you're stuck using photos in your project, then you can go ahead and just add this image at the start of the name and then use photos as icons. Now, another thing we can do is reference photos from our public path. So if I jump into public here, icons, notice that we get some Quasar icons by default, which are these ones down here. So I'm going to right click on that and then say copy. I think there's a copy name here somewhere. There we go, copy name. Then we can come in here and for the image, we can just say icons, which is basically this icons directory here. We don't have to say public. It will automatically note that it is the public directory. Jump into the icons directory, and then we can say / and then I'll paste that icon directly in there. And there we go. Now we've got Quasar's image as an icon. Now, you might be wondering, with all of these different icons available to me, how do I find the one that I actually need? Well, it turns out somebody from the Quasar community, Jeff, has created this incredible tool for allowing you to find Quasar icons and really easily paste them into your application. So check this out. I'll create a new tab and I'll call this the icon, and I'll jump into icon explorer.app. Oh, what have I done here? Explorer.app. And if you want to find out the details of how you can use this site, including using regular expressions to easily hone in on the icon that you need, you can jump into this help section here. But I'll just give you a quick overview. This top section here, they're your web font icons. So if you're using web fonts, you can just click on the library that you want to explore, like MDI version 6, which is the one I tend to use. And then it's going to load all of those icons and you can just go through the list and find what you need. But if you want every single one of these icons available to you, and I mean literally every icon that is available on this site, I'll show you how we can do that. I'm going to open up my console and then say yarn add quasar-extras-svg-icons. And this is basically going to make all of the icons on this website available to us. So we can just cherry pick them and drop them in wherever we want. So let's just scroll down here and find one. For example, glyphs brands. And I'm just going to choose one at random. How about this one here? I'll click on that. throw this onto this side of the screen. And then what you can even do is just click here on one of these options to copy the import. So I'll copy that import, and then I can just paste it directly in there. Oh, let's get some more room back. There we go. And just whack it straight in there for the name. Paste it in, save it, and there we go. How cool is that? You have this entire library at your fingertips, and you can easily just copy paste things all over the place. So if you wanted a button, you could just click on that there, paste it in, and there we go. We've got a button with that icon. You can even copy SVG here, paste that in, and you get the whole SVG, which you can then see. I might just have to comment this out. There we go. So if you need total control over that icon and you want to have some sort of reactivity, for example, that changes parts of this icon, then you can actually do that by pasting the entire SVG in there. So I don't know if this will work, but let's try, for example, just saying green there. Yeah, there we go. You can just come in there and change things reactively using views. So that's pretty awesome. And of course, we've got amazing search features. So if I want a frog icon, I can search for frog. Here we go. Click on there. And then I can just copy the import, paste that import in, and then I want this as a button. So let's click on Q button, and then I can come up here and just paste that in. Back to our app, and there we go. We've got a frog button. Isn't that awesome? When I'm starting new apps, I always have the Icon Explorer open in a tab. So moving on, there is one more thing that I want to show you, and that's using images directly inside of icons. So you can actually copy paste the text of an image and use that as an icon if it's in base 64. I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's come up here, open a new tab, and there's a website called base64-image.de. And this allows you to basically drag and drop an image onto this page, and it's going to give you the string of that image. I'll open up my file explorer on my bottom window here, jump into my pictures, and let's drag and drop the view logo onto there. And now we can actually say copy image. And what that's done is it's copied the image as text onto our clipboard. So let me just paste it here so you can see what it looks like. It's basically just looks like a whole bunch of random text. But if we come in here and say Q-icon, and then we set the name equal to img : and then that text. Oh, and that shouldn't have a colon there. Let's get rid of that. I'll comment that out. And let's come back to our app. There we go. Notice that we get the view icon, but rather than using the image directly, we've pasted the string in there. So if you need a really performant landing page, especially if you have a lot of images that are making requests to your backend, then what you can do is just paste it directly in there, and it means that it's sitting inside of your HTML. So when the user, or in this case JavaScript because it's Vue, it means that when the user pulls in that chunk, it's already going to have all of the images available and doesn't have to make that extra request to the backend to get the image. All right, if you didn't understand that, it's totally fine. This is more advanced stuff, but I just wanted to show you the breadth that we have with Quasar's QIcon component. So that's about it. There's a lot of other cool little bits and pieces in the docs, like how to add your own icon library if you want to dig that deep. But I think that everything I've shown you here should cover most use cases. So that's Quasar's QIcon component. I'll see you in the next video.